What's up, everybody? Welcome back, because we haven't been here for a week, to Cinema Royale with the Punch Drunk Critics. I'm John. That guy over to my left or right, depending on how you're looking at us, is Travis. We missed you last week, folks. Sorry about that, but we are back, and don't worry, we're not skipping over Black Widow. How could we do that? A lot of stuff happened. Not only did we miss a week, but we've come back in a week that had no less than 87 movies premiere.
Crazy week.
Yeah.
Go to punchdrunkcritics.com and just click on reviews. We got a shit ton of them that came out this week.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot.
Hate weeks like this, man.
Yeah, I mean, you guys should be keeping up with the site. Again, punchdrunkcritics.com. We were just talking before we went on air. We got tons of interviews coming up, all kinds of content being generated. So make sure you're peeping it, as the youngins say these days, or at least I figure that's what they say. I don't really know.
It sounded bad.
Yeah.
Not only did that sound bad, but you got gray hair saying it.
Yeah.
It just doesn't look good. It just does not good look.
He waited until we went on air to say that, because now I'll be uncomfortable for the next hour. My vanity knows no ends. Yeah.
No, it has been a busy week. We did skip over Black Widow last week. We missed it, so we got to talk about that. Get your opinion on that, because I actually don't know your opinion of it. I've seen it a couple times, which should tell you already how much what I thought of it. So.
Well, I'll tell you that I had a screener for it. I got a screening link, which not the best way to watch Black Widow, because the screening links you get, if for anybody out there doesn't know, they're never more than DVD quality, I'd say. I don't know why that is. The link could be better, and they usually have your name emblazoned on the front, so it's not the best way to watch a movie. But needless to say, after we watched it that way, we bought the Premiere Access and have watched it no less than 3 times since then. So, sneak preview of my review for it. But one thing we didn't talking about this week, I guess we should spend at least a minute on right off the jump, and I didn't even think to bring it up earlier, is Loki. The Loki finale came and went while we were away last week. I got to say, Loki ranks probably, I know it's going to have the biggest impact, probably ranks the lowest of the Marvel Plus shows right now for me, or Disney Plus Marvel shows, I should say.
Yeah, I think it does for me too, and I know that might be the unpopular opinion right now. Actually, I think a lot of people that I know seem to place Loki at the top of their favorites of the Marvel shows. I mean, I like them all, so I mean, I'm not going to sit here and rank them, but yeah, Loki came to an end, had his big finale, and I had said the week before, watch out for Kang showing up in the finale.
Yep.
It just seemed like they were setting up for that. And I know they hadn't said he was coming. We thought he was going to debut in Ant-Man 3, but the whole Loki series seemed to be setting up for Kang. And so, yeah, it would have made sense for him to show up in the finale, and he did. In fact, there was an entire episode of Kang basically talking the entire time.
Yeah.
Basically talking, and it was still great. It's one of the best introductions of a Marvel villain I think we've seen.
Yeah.
If not the best introduction of a Marvel villain. He had an entire episode to himself, and by the time he was gone, he had already changed the entire fabric of the entire MCU.
Pretty much. Yeah. Jonathan Majors, who, I'm so glad he got Kang, because this dude is electric on screen. And as everybody found out last week, Lovecraft Country is not getting a second season on HBO, which he was also in that and was really good in.
It's crazy to think about that, because Lovecraft Country did well in the ratings. I do believe that the reason why he didn't do it was because they've gone past the stories in the book. And I think it was probably a lot harder to come up with stories for the second season.
Yeah.
Even though Misha Green talked about all the ideas that she had for season 2, it doesn't mean HBO was cool with them.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's the main reason why. But ever since The Last Black Man in San Francisco, Jonathan Majors has been a star on the rise. Movie after movie, The Five Bloods, even a movie like Captive State, which I don't think is a great movie, but he's good in it. He's just been fantastic, and as Kang, he looks like he's going to be a lot of fun. So.
I mean, yeah, it's not, and now granted, there's multiple versions of Kang, but it's not what I expected. Granted, I don't have a full history on Kang. I didn't read a lot of books with him in it, but I always expected him to be really stodgy. But you got Jonathan Majors who's sitting here like this, laughing and just being what you would be if you were the Lord of all time. totally blasé and non caring about everything, but caring at the same time. So he was it was really interesting to see. I just felt like probably could have done with 8 episodes. They dropped Kang in there. Everything seemed. I'm sure they were treading to not go too far into what they're going to explain later, but while still introducing stuff, it just seemed like it was both rushed and not long enough at the same time.
Yeah, I felt like it ended at about the right time. I don't know if I wanted another couple episodes of Loki or not.
Yeah.
I feel like if they had added a couple more, we would have gotten to padding territory, which I don't feel like any episode was wasted
Mhm.
this season. I don't want to feel like any, and I don't feel like Marvel has really wasted any episodes of any of the shows they've done. I think there was maybe one in like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, um, which felt like it might have could have maybe not been there. But for the most part, they've done a great job of using each episode to the fullest.
Right.
I think Loki may have been the best out of all three shows in doing that, in making sure each episode served a purpose. Um, but yeah, this has you, if you're like me, very curious about everything else that's going on now. Ant-Man 3, Doctor Strange 2,
Mhm.
Spider-Man, all these things that are dealing with the multiverses. It all really begins here.
Yep.
And if you're someone who's read a lot of Kang stories, I've read a lot of Kang stories. Kang, Immortus, Rama Tut, all the different names he's had in the past, all the names he's had in the future. Um, his very extremely close ties to the Fantastic Four. I won't give away anything about that away. For people who may not have read the comics, there's just it's opens up so many doors for what they could do in the
Mhm.
Marvel universe. I'm super excited.
Yeah. And the very last thing, but we already had a packed show, so I don't want to spend too much time on this. But
And the show's
I
coming
got
back.
it. Was that?
The show's coming back for a second season.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's coming back for a second season. But I have to know if I'm alone on this. Sylvie and Loki falling in love, weird or not?
Not.
Not. I was totally weirded out to it, and then my wife made a very poignant point um, that if you're a narcissist, the person you're most likely to fall in love with, which Loki is yourself. But it still seemed a weird little Game of Thrones to me, but that's just me.
I'm also not fully convinced that she's a true Loki, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I still believe she's just the Enchantress. Like I
You think?
still
Yeah.
believe that. Yeah, I still believe that she's just the Enchantress.
Well,
So I mean, I don't
it,
know. And I think that's why they might have been a little bit easier to just go ahead and have them kiss, knowing it would be weird to a lot of people. I
right.
I still think she's the Enchantress, and we'll find that out either in season 2 or before season 2. So
Well, thankfully for those of us that weren't into Loki as much, we did have other Marvel to jump into. That was a big movie last week. Is Black Widow after what she jumped in part two. So 11 years later, she gets her first solo movie after debuting in the
Iron
MCU.
Man 2 in
Yeah.
2010, and it was a very cheesecakey appearance debut.
Mhm.
There's been a lot of chatter about her evolution over the years, and some of the things that Tony Stark said about her in that episode in that movie.
Well, and if nothing else, it proves to show how much the world has changed in 10 years. I mean, because you still, I mean, it wasn't like the 50s or the 60s then when you were like, hey, sugar tits and smacking secretaries on the butt. But at the same time, people still got away with an awful lot. And she was essentially brought on with respect because it was a cover, but basically as a piece of meat. Tony's I want one, and this and that.
Yeah.
And then she becomes, one of the few non-powered and most respected members of the Avengers. So. But,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think we should remember, and I really need to go back and watch Iron Man 2. It is time for the MCU rewatch at this
mm,
point. I keep saying that, but it is time for the rewatch. Um, and Iron Man 2, she is undercover, and that is like her main cover that she uses the most is like
mm,
a piece of ass, because
well,
guys like Tony Stark are going to be like Tony Stark, and
yep.
they're going to let their guard down. They're going to see her as non-threatening, and then they're going to get made clowns of, and that's exactly the point of her character. She wasn't a piece of cheesecake the entire movie.
Yeah,
But,
I mean that hallway fight when she does, which is gloriously called back to the opening of her pose in Black Widow, one of my favorite parts of the movie. But
it
if
is
you
my
if
favorite running gag in the movie too.
yeah,
Yelena constantly.
when you do this thing with your hair, you're like, you do this thing, you're a poser. It's hilarious.
How sexy is Florence Pugh's
I was not. I'm not gonna say I wasn't on board with Florence Pugh. I liked Florence Pugh previously. I am obsessed with. She is amazing in this movie. She's she's gorgeous, yeah, but she's hilarious, and she's like so easy to watch.
You watch her
It's hard to explain.
like you watch her on social media, right? Like you watch her videos and stuff.
I don't. No, I'm going to now though. Wait, what does she do? Is it?
Oh man, she cooks and she does all sorts of stuff, man.
Oh yeah. All right, I'm gonna put that on because yeah, I was like I knew her. I was like, oh yeah, she's pretty, Outlaw King, Midsummer, whatever. I was like, she, but I wasn't on board. And like 5 minutes into her appearance in this movie, I'm like, well, that's she's up, she's taking ScarJo's same rating in my book to be honest.
Yeah.
You know. But just real quick, if for anybody that does what I do, whenever obviously I've been a comic book reader for a long, long time, but there's a lot of major characters I never read, Black Widow being one of them. So after I watched the movie, I went back and read some of the landmark series of hers. And if you're uncomfortable with the way she's treated in Iron Man 2, do not read any of those books because let me tell you, I was even kind of shocked by the way they paint her. Like there's one panel that says, "Is there anybody on the Avengers you haven't seduced?" Like 50% of it is about her seducing every man around her. She's linked to Bucky, to Hawkeye, to Ant-Man, to everybody.
I sent you a link in the chat. I don't know if you saw that pop up or not.
Not yet, but I can grab it. Well, now I'm going to be distracted, I'm sure.
You are. In fact, I should just be quiet for a second, let you click on it, and just watch like the first 10 seconds of it.
Florence Pugh eats 11. What is this going to say?
Just watch like the first 10 seconds of it.
English dishes. Well, it's a 10-minute video, so I'm going to watch. I'm going to fast forward a little bit and see. So she's as fun as
Yes.
as she seems to be.
Absolutely.
Oh, I love it. Oh, I love it. That's hilarious. But yeah, I mean I think with Black Widow, so essentially damn, Natasha going back to her roots, and she meets she meets up with her old sister and mother and father who were all I forget what they call them, sleeper cells, I guess. It's like the Americans.
They're a sleeper cell in Ohio.
Yeah.
And this story is set between the events of Captain America: Civil War and Infinity War. There's a pretty decent sized gap there. The film is set between those events. So you've got the Sokovia Accords, you've got Cap and all these guys on the run, basically. The Avengers are split at this point, and Natasha has not really made her. Well, she's kind of made her decision, but the government is on her tail too. So basically, she goes to get off the grid, and she encounters her. Well, she's drawn into this orbit of her sister, played by Florence Pugh, who has uncovered a way of
Deprogramming.
programming the other widows who were in the Red Room. And that's really the start of this entire mission. And of course, it brings back their quote parents, the Red Guardian, played by David Harbour, and Melina, played by Rachel Weisz. So you got a whole lot of family dynamics here, some superheroics. Honestly, I loved all of it. I thought the family stuff was really great, especially for these characters who are essentially spies. They have no real families. The girls are basically plucked off the street. They have no families. This fake family unit that they have is like the closest thing to a family that they've ever had. And there's some really cool dynamics between them because they're all some of them are trying to hold on to that. Like Yelena is trying to hold on to that as like if it were a real family. It's the only thing she's ever known. While the others, some of them are like Natasha is kind of rejecting that idea. I like that Red Guardian is kind of playing it both ways a little bit.
Mhm.
Um, and Melina, I think, is a little bit more on the, we're not really a family, so.
Yeah. I
It's,
got like
it's a really complicated mix of things going on between them, and I thought it made their encounters feel unique and kind of special, and I
yeah.
enjoyed that.
Yeah, I mean the layers that were added to it, Romanoff, or I keep calling her Widow, but I guess there's a bunch of widows in this. Widow and Red Guardian, David Harbour, they're like you said, they're more. It seems like they're trying to put it away, but the further you get in the movie, you kind of feel like they're putting it away because they see it as a weakness that they actually care for these people, and that kind of comes to. I mean, one of the more emotional moments in the film, set to Don McLean's American Pie, really kind of surprised me that I wasn't. I kind of got the feeling at that point that David Harbour's character wasn't really worried about the family, and then you find out through a series of events that he does. He sees these, and there's little hints everywhere. Like something I didn't catch the first time around is that he's got tattoos all over him of Yelena and Natasha and even Milena. So it's a real family, and it might not be a traditional family, but it's a real family to them. And I was expecting the action,
Yeah, it was
but
interesting because I think he got those things probably after he got screwed over by his country.
yeah, he must have. Yeah, yeah, because he was pretty clean cut in the beginning when you see him.
Right. I think he learned to appreciate them as his family after the family he thought he had in the Russian government
Hmm.
screwed him over.
Yeah,
Um,
because he was essentially a Steve Rogers for the Soviet Union, but it didn't really work out.
That was
Yeah.
contemporary to Steve Rogers, but
Mhm.
really,
Well, he thinks he's the Steve Rogers of the Soviet Union, and there's a number of hilarious stories where he tells about his adventures fighting Steve Rogers during a time when we know he was in the ice. So, but I mean, I expected the action to be good, and it was great. Taskmaster kind of even blew me away. I loved how they
what do you think about
subtly
his
was that. I didn't expect it honestly. I don't know what I was expecting. I didn't expect it, but even though I didn't expect it, it didn't really blow my socks off. Like I almost wanted it to be something more, I guess.
I'm kind of torn on it. I thought Taskmaster would just end up being like an android or something. That's kind of
Mhm.
what I figured. I didn't think it was actually going to be a person. Um, and then the reason why that reveal doesn't blow you away is because the villain doesn't blow you away. And I like um,
Zarikov.
the guy who plays him. I can't remember his name. Why do I feel dumb? I don't really.
Me too, because he's been in like every single movie ever made, pretty
Yeah,
much.
I know. And I know him. We know him.
Ray
Ray
Winstone.
Winston. Ray Winston. I mean, I was like, he's the sexy beast guy. Ray
Yeah.
Winston. Um, but that his villain is not an impressive villain to me. So, and
No.
he's he's kind of representative of what the movie is about. Not female empowerment necessarily, but female agency. It has to deal with human trafficking, sex trafficking of women in its own way. Um, he's very much a
Mhm.
toxic male figure in the way he treats women and perceives women. There's at one point in the movie where he literally says, "We use the one resource the world has too much of, girls."
Mhm.
Yeah, that's his outlook on females. Um, and he very much fits that mold. But he's not a particularly deep character. He's not a complicated character. He's not the most interesting villain Marvel's ever produced. That's for sure. Which means that the Taskmaster reveal doesn't mean as much either. Uh,
Right.
now I'm very curious because Taskmaster is not going anywhere. I'm curious what happens to Taskmaster next.
Yeah.
More interested in that, I think.
He's
And
had
I
the
won't
reveal.
give away the actor who plays Taskmaster in case there's somebody out there who still hasn't seen it some reason. Um, I wonder if they'll fix that actor's face for the next role because I hope so. Um, because that actor is beautiful under normal circumstances. So
All right, it's Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman's in the MCU. He's the
yes,
Taskmaster.
it's Hugh Jackman. Yes, Hugh Jackman is Taskmaster.
No, I mean, the thing with it is like I agree. Dreykov is not a compelling villain, and part of that is because the villain really is the Soviet Union, is Russia, and he's just kind of the face man for that, and he kind of splits the evil amongst them. He's supposed to be the personification of it. But then Taskmaster, while the reveal wasn't cool, it it is so rewarding to rewatch this movie because you can see all the little inspirations throughout. I mean, when we first see Taskmaster, he's watching video of Hawkeye, and anybody that doesn't get this watching the movie or didn't know already, Taskmaster is basically a person or android, whatever you want to call it, that can replicate everybody else's fighting styles. So you
reflexes. Anything that Taskmaster sees can be replicated.
Right. So you see him do Black Panther. Obviously, he's got Captain America influences with the shield. Widow, you can see in there. Hawkeye, and there's little things here and there. Even Winter Soldier, during the scene that's been in the trailer, so it's not he's spoiling anything. He's chasing him down the street and he shoots an arrow underneath the car, exactly how Bucky did to Samuel L. Jackson in Winter Soldier.
That's a good call. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so there's a lot of real subtle things that you catch going back and forth, so it's rewarding over and over again. There's a lot of inspiration from spy movies. The fight scenes where Yelena and Natasha meet for the first time feels really Bourne-like, like something almost out of a Jason Bourne movie.
Their first fight in the house in the
yeah,
that was a really nice close quarters fight. And I did feel very green grass-esque.
Right. Yeah. So it hit every note, that so much so that I didn't even really think about the fact that Dreykov was disappointing until you just brought it up. The movie hit every note that I really wanted to hit, including the only thing I wish it would have had is, it's not really what I wish it would have had, but the movie I wanted to see more of, but it wouldn't have really been Black Widow, is Secret Avengers. That there's still a time period there where we can see that movie. We can get Evans and Johansson back for one more Secret Avengers movie to show what was happening from the end of this movie up to the start of Infinity War. That's all I want.
Hey, if I had my major complaint with the film that I had was that I felt like Black Widow kind of took second fiddle in her own movie for a while there.
Yeah.
It kind of gets lost in the whole thing, and this movie really should be. And this movie had dual purposes, which is why it had to happen this way. But on one hand, you're kind of setting up her sacrifice in Endgame. You're showing her going back and taking care of some old demons, but also showing her willingness to give up herself for others, which she throws herself into the she offers herself up for almost to die in a couple times in this movie too. You're setting that part of herself up, but it also had to set up the next phase for Black Widow, the next Black Widow, and her family, and so it kind of has to do two different things. And it does a decent enough job, I think, of balancing it. But for the length of time that people have been begging for a Black Widow movie, and then they finally get it, and she kind of takes the back seat for a while. I think that's probably disappointing to a lot of people. But again, she takes the back seat to Florence Pugh. So how upset are you?
That's the thing. She was so good, you can't really be mad. I mean, it's the passing of the torch movie in almost every way, and the torch passes somebody just as able. So it makes me feel old because I'm seeing somebody my age passing the torch off to somebody younger. But other than that, not really mad about it.
Everybody's younger, man.
Yeah, it's true. But I mean, the thing that I think is best about that is that they match each other personality-wise in a way I didn't expect, in that, Florence Pugh is funnier than Johansson, but she's no slouch either. She's always been like it's not comic relief because nobody's laughing at her, but she's a source of a lot of laughs throughout these movies. And Florence Pugh obviously will be too. The only question I have, and I'm gonna step around this without spoiling it, is I always expected her to go directly to Young Avengers or whatever the next iteration of the Avengers is, and by the end of this movie, it doesn't seem like that's the case. It seems more Thunderbolts than anything else.
Well, yeah, I think she's probably. Well, we've already. It's kind of odd here because I didn't want to spoil something about the movie earlier, but now I want to talk about the end credit scene, which I kind of have to spoil. So Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character Valentina shows up at the end of the credits, and you said Thunderbolts, and I was like, yeah, she's clearly doing something. But basically, it looks like she's setting up her own Dark Avengers.
Dark Avengers, yeah, that's probably more true.
Or Thunderbolts, or it could be Thunderbolts too.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, because we saw her in Falcon and Winter Soldier recruiting John Walker, whose Funko Pop I just got yesterday in the mail, so I got that. It's funny how his ears stick out like in the movie.
You have one of these? No? Underbite?
Yeah. Hold on.
We got to get a look at we're getting ready to see the new John Walker Funko Pop figure, folks.
Oh, yeah. So he
That's awesome.
yeah. So he does kind of have it.
That's awesome.
But yeah. So she's got a Captain America and a Black Widow.
Mhm.
They're basically on her payroll. Um, and of course, at the end of this, we saw that she's sending Yelena off to go after Hawkeye. I think it's very notable that the picture that she shows her is him in his Ronin outfit.
What did
Um,
he do while he was Ronin that
right,
caused it? Yeah.
something that he did while he was Ronin. Or and who knows? He's clearly screwed Valentina in some way
Yeah.
while he was Ronin. So she's going to send her off to go after him. But of course, she did it by telling her a lie that he's responsible. And I had one of our readers ask me about that.
Mhm.
Like basically, she's lying to her. He wasn't responsible for killing her. I was like, well, kind of depends on your perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, he could have thrown himself off of there and been just fine. She'd be fine right now. I know he
All
tried, but he could have tried harder.
we
Uh,
had front row seats, but all everybody else saw was two went out, one came back.
right. And so, I mean, just depends on how you look at it.
Mhm.
Um, she might even know what happened and still want to go hunt down Hawkeye.
Yeah.
So we don't know. We just don't know. But I'm very curious to see her pop up in the Hawkeye series now.
Yeah.
Which I mean, honestly, how cool is it that we're getting this stuff on the big and the small screen like this now, and that they're actually feeding into one another, the way that we always thought Marvel was going to when they had Agents of Shield and
Right.
stuff like that. We always thought these shows were going to feed into one another, and that was how it was going to be, and it never was. And now it's actually coming to pass, and it's as awesome as we hoped it would be.
Yeah, it's just as seamless. They've managed to do it so that whether it's the movie or the TV, it doesn't look there's no visual difference to it. Usually you get that visual difference, but you could have something happen in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then basically the next episode is the first act of a movie, and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference watching it all together. And I think
You
that's
know what's amazing too? We're doing all this talk about what's coming up next for Black Widow. We're talking about the multiverse and all this kind of stuff that's going on. Thanks to Loki and everything that's coming up. We still have Secret Invasion.
oh shit, that's
Like,
right.
like either later this year or early next. We still have Secret Invasion. That's a whole big story too. And I'm like, how is all of this together? Like, how is all of this happening
You would
at
think
the
that would
same
be a
time?
phase, like either the multiverse is a phase and Secret
Right.
Invasion is a
It
phase.
needs to be a phase. And what happens when we discovered that the Black Widow who threw herself off that cliff and died was a Skrull the entire time, and then the real Black Widow was alive? What happens then? What happens,
Well,
John?
we know that's not the case because she didn't revert when she fell. We all know that the Skrulls revert once they
Did you
die.
see her body after she fell? After she
Yeah,
died?
she was like this for a good 2 minutes.
It wasn't 2 minutes.
No, 2 seconds maybe, but yeah, it could have been, could have been. I mean, the question marks are
somebody,
plentiful at this point.
somebody who dies will end up being a Skrull.
Well, so essentially we have two unlimited ways of not killing characters off permanently. They could either be a Skrull or a multiverse version could come back, a la Gamora, or well, that's time traveling, but same difference. Basically we are in the place now where we are full on comic book. Nobody can really die.
Yeah, we're getting to that point. Unless you're Quicksilver.
Yeah, poor guy. We watched Age of Ultron again last week, and he was actually pretty good in it. Watching it again, but it's funny that they're setting all this up at the same time that Kevin Feige says they're no longer doing long-term contracts. They're not signing people on for 9-picture deals like Samuel L. Jackson or Chris Evans. So it's interesting to see because we would think once you get a Marvel movie, of course you're going to stay in as long as you can, but who knows people's motivations? I mean, it could be something as simple as I thought I had 2 years before the next movie, so I signed on to this other one, and now I can't get over. And I think that's going to be a negative thing moving forward because, yeah, you changed out Hulk and you changed out Rhodey, but there really wasn't much change throughout, and it really kept it cohesive once the MCU movies fully started. So
Yeah, but you also don't want to keep people longer than one that they want to be, and two, past the point of where their characters are useful.
yeah,
I
yeah, there's
think
a balance probably to
I
be
think it's a
had.
good idea for them to do it this way. making shorter contracts, or maybe even by appearance. I think if you do it by appearance, people are more likely to come back.
Well, yeah, because they're gonna get paid a hell of a lot more because they'll be able to bargain.
And they're gonna be more, and they're gonna have specific usage.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, like people come have 9 picture contracts, but they don't know what they're doing. They don't know if it's gonna be worth their time. They got to give up other stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and because they have to come back for something else that they don't even know what it is. I think it's probably a better idea to do it the way they're doing it now, just for that reason.
Yeah.
So when somebody comes back, we know they're coming back for a reason, not just to pop their head around the corner or something and fill a contractual obligation. That sucks.
Right. Well, from one girl power movie to the next, Black Widow came out last week. This week we had Gunpowder Milkshake, which was being. We have 2 movies this week that were being described as John Wick, which is strange. What's that?
What's the other one?
Well, not being described as, but people thought that Pig was going to be John Wick with a pig. Nicolas Cage, John Wick.
Say Die in a Gunfight was the other one.
No.
Okay.
No.
So I'm glad we're not talking about that one. Okay.
Yeah, that's sad.
That one makes me mad because it could have been good and it's not.
Yeah.
It's another Alexandra Daddario movie that's not great.
She does not have the best either agent or talent of picking movies because she is good. She is really good, but she just cannot pick them.
Yeah, I assume she's good. I fall into it. I get hypnotized when I see her, so I don't really know if she's good. I assume she is.
Well, that's good to me. You know, she's captivating, and that's really all you need. I mean, but Karen Gillan captivating too, and I'm always surprised to, I know there's obviously a separation when somebody's wearing makeup, but like Gamora, I can tell is Zoe Saldana. There's a complete separation in who Nebula is and who Karen Gillan is in all these other movies. Like when I first saw Jumanji, it was my first real long-term exposure to seeing who she is not in that makeup. I was blown away by the 2 different people that they are.
I bet you were.
Yeah, but Gunpowder Milkshake sees Karen Gillan as a hit woman.
She's better when she's not bold and blue.
Well, yeah, but I mean she's funny and she's really charismatic and all that stuff too. Whereas Nebula, she's just I hate everything. So, but
yeah, she's great. I like Karen Gillan a lot.
So
she liked my tweet about my review of the movie. She liked it, and that made me very happy.
There's nothing like that, The only person I've ever got to like my tweets was Kevin Smith, but I'll still take it, even though he likes everybody's tweets.
My favorite is Wesley Snipes, who liked my real action for Passenger 57.
Oh, did he?
Retweeted it and said good work on this, brother.
Did he really? I didn't know that. That's rad. You got a retweet and a comment. That's from Wesley Snipes.
Yeah, that was good.
The motherfucker's always trying to ice skate uphill.
James Gunn just liked my message about the Suicide Squad, which I can't really talk about. Well, actually, I can talk. No, I can't talk about it. I can social media my thoughts on the Suicide Squad, but I can't talk about how I felt about it. So, if you need to know what I thought about the Suicide Squad, we'll get my.
I want to know how you saw it already. Did you get a link or was there a screening? Yeah, I know you get the secret special top tier A series ones.
There was a screening of it.
Yeah, I bet.
Don't be upset. There was only like 5 people there.
Oh, I'm not upset. I can't even blame him at this point because I haven't even tried to go to a screening in God knows how long. It's just gotten so easy with the links they send, but they're gonna stop doing that soon. So, anyway.
James Gunn liked and retweeted my message about it, so that made me happy too.
I mean, it looks amazing. And I did like. There's a new trailer that came out. You guys can check it out on punchdrunkcritics.com. That's like kind of a behind the scenes trailer, and I'm kind of digging what James Gunn did with his hair and beard. He went from I guess he started to get a little gray, which Travis is saying I'm apparently getting. Maybe I should do this. And he dyed his shit bright white, so it's just all white everywhere. Looks good on him.
If I reach the point where I start showing serious gray, I'm just gonna embrace it and just go gray. Or
yeah,
I'm gonna shave it all off.
I always wanted to J. Jonah Jameson it and just dye, those classy streaks on the side. Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. Anyway,
you're getting there already. You should just do it.
Don't take our reluctance to talk about Gunpowder Milkshake as a review of the film.
No, it's my favorite movie of the week, so don't do that.
Yes, Karen Gillan plays a hit woman who's got a mysterious past. Her mother is also a hit woman. She wants to save a little girl whose father she I'm like making this really confusing. She wants to
Yeah,
save a little girl who's
you're making it more confusing than it needs to be. This movie's not confusing.
I'm
This
I don't know why I'm going this way.
this
I'm like
movie is,
thinking, huh?
if anybody has watched the movies of Luc Besson,
Mm-hmm.
his female assassin movies, whether it's La Femme Nikita or The Professional, it is, or even a movie like Anna, which came back a couple years ago. Remember that? Remember
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
it's it's just that. It's that. It's got the one last job, the job that goes wrong. It's got the assassin with the child who wants to be an assassin. It's
Mm-hmm.
got everything. All of the tropes are in this movie, but it's done in a style that I think is similar to like Kingsman. It's
Yeah,
like Kingsman style of the Luc Besson type of genre film,
over
and
the
I
top,
think
kind of half
that's like the
winking.
perfect combination. That's like the perfect combination for me
Yeah,
because assassin movies are my favorite genre of movies. So I
yeah.
love these movies. Luc Besson is one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. I love him, regardless of what he is on the outside of the filmmaking business. I like I like his
Mm-hmm.
movies. Um, yeah, so you got Lena Headey, who is a top spy for the firm. Karen Gillan is her daughter. Lena Headey screws up a job. She has to flee. She leaves her daughter behind. Her daughter grows up in the firm, becomes world class assassin. Years later, Karen Gillan's character, also following in her mom's footsteps, screws up a job, and now the firm is after her. And along the way, she has to protect a girl that the firm is targeting. So she reconnects with her mom, and they fight against the firm, and they go and recruit some help by these three basically librarians played by Angela Bassett, Carla Gugino, and Michelle Yeoh. We're talking action movie royalty in terms of like female actors. This
Yep.
is action movie royalty here, like all of them in this movie, and they're all fantastic. And the thing that I love about it, look, like I said, it hits all my buttons in terms of like this genre. They don't waste anybody in this. Like I was happy with every single performance and every single person in it.
Mm-hmm.
Lena Headey and Karen Gillan got lots of cool atomic blonde style action, and even and the trio, they got two really good fight scenes. One in the
Yeah.
library, and then one at the end in the diner, which is like this 1950s style diner, which is like the Continental because it's like
Mm-hmm.
neutral ground supposedly, but of course neutral ground never lasts in these things.
Yeah.
Um, they get two really good fight scenes that make the best use of everybody in it, and each fight has personality, which is one of the things I look for in these sorts of movies. I absolutely love this movie, man. It's like it was a movie made for Travis Thompson. So I was
Yeah.
like digging it the entire way through.
I mean, you said it all. I mean, the coolest thing about the library and the way I also appreciate how they shot the scenes because the main fight in the library where everybody gets a piece of it, it's one you see in the trailers most. There's sections of the library that are different than the others. So Michelle Yeoh, who I know one of the things they say for getting older is you lost a step. That is not true for Michelle Yeoh. She is just as fast as she ever was. I mean, people forget, she's beautiful. She's a great actress. She's an amazing martial artist above everything else, and she shows it off in this. But you'll see, they each fighter is in a different each assassin or whatever you want to call it is in a different section of the library, which has a completely different feel.
Yeah.
The only thing problem I had with this is the how do I say this without spoiling anything? I won't even say it. I didn't have any problems with this. I'll just say I really love Carla Gugino.
Oh, me too.
So anybody that's seen the movie can know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Um,
I feel you. I feel
she's
you. I'm a
she's
big
one
fan
of
of
the
Carl Gugino too.
I think she's one of the few
Remember
women.
that TV show she had?
Jet.
No, no, no. She had a TV show where she was like a detective.
Uh,
What was that show, man? And it was really good, and I think it only lasted like one season.
how long ago was that? Because I
I'm
know
looking
she had Jet on Showtime or something where she was like a fixer or something like that. I don't remember.
it
But
was. I'm looking it up now.
while you're looking it up, I'll have my misogynistic moment of the day where
Karen Cisco.
oh yeah, that was a while ago. That was like
Karen Cisco. It was. Yeah, because she was a. Yeah, because it was a spinoff of the character from
Out of Sight or
yeah, from Out of Sight,
yeah,
and it was in 2003. And
yeah, that was a while
I
ago.
wish you could look at the picture. Like if you go on Wikipedia and look up Karen Cisco,
Mhm.
look at that picture of Carla Gugino.
I mean, I've loved her since she was on Saved by the Bell when she was the Zach excuse me the nurse that Zach went for.
Frat boyish over the last.
I think it has.
I feel like we've reverted to like old Punch Drunk Critics, like
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. Look at that picture of Karen Cisco.
Well, I'll tell you what happened is you stopped getting us back on track. Usually I'm the one that says this shit, and then you say, oh, okay, let's he's being a sexist, and then we go back to normal. But now you're joining in. Yeah, that is an amazing picture. Anyway,
Of Carla Gugino.
Gunpowder Milkshake is on Netflix right now. You can check out the review on punchdrunkcritics.com. It is, by all accounts, awesome.
We talked about the action of the movie. The movie is also very funny. There's a great bowling alley fight, which is bizarre and weird and crazy. And then there's another fight with laughing gas. There's like the movie's not just like hardcore action. It's just like really funny, over the top action too.
It's batshit crazy in every way that you'd want it to be. I mean, all I kept thinking of during one of the fight scenes is, and this is going to be a deep pull, so I understand if nobody gets it, but Mr. Armstrong from In Living Color. Do you remember that skit?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's basically a Mr. Armstrong skit in this movie, which I just thought was awesome. And it had some heart too.
It's on Netflix, so you ain't got to pay nothing to go see it. You can watch it at home.
Yep. So make sure you do that. And I was surprised to see that it's not number one on Netflix's top 10 right now. So let's fix that. Get out there and see it.
Definitely needs to be, for sure.
Mhm.
And it was directed by the guy who did Big Bad Wolves. Big Bad Wolves was awesome too.
Mhm.
So.
I'm hoping that we're on the same page about this next movie. There seems to be a trend that anytime you reboot something that had to do with the supernatural or aliens or the paranormal, let's say, if you reboot or redo it, it's got to be AI now. We saw it in Child's Play. Now we're seeing it in Space Jam. Space Jam is getting a lot of flack. And I know we talked about this before. They've been talking about this movie ever since basically LeBron James came into the league. And I don't think either one of us was really waiting for it. I wasn't the hugest fan of the original Space Jam, but I did love the Looney Tunes, so I did like it.
There's nothing to love about the original Space Jam. I know people look at it because of nostalgia, because of Michael Jordan and the Looney Tunes, and it was such a weird mashup of things.
Yeah.
For that movie to have happened. That's why people look back on it. But does anybody look back on it fondly? I don't know anybody who does. What is it that you're fond of? I don't know what that would be. It's not necessarily an awful movie. It's just a nostalgic movie.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody was like, man, I can't wait for that next Space Jam.
And that's what they doubled down on in every way they could with Space Jam as a nostalgia. I mean, and it's not just nostalgia for Space Jam. They found a way to siphon in as many cameos as possible to reference as many things as they possibly could.
It's the entire Warner Brothers library is in this joint, man. And
yeah.
I mean, when I say the entire library, I mean like they walked through Casablanca at one point. I mean, you got to see the dudes from A Clockwork Orange hanging out with Pennywise.
Yeah. It was almost like Ready. It was like if Ready Player One was centered around a basketball game, and they weren't as discerning with who the target audience was, then we might be okay. I mean, the first Space Jam had a really simple concept. Aliens are coming to take over. You got the Monstars, and you have the guys that have to beat them. And this one just seemed like they were trying to do too much and trying to cram too much. And if I'm being honest, I think kids that'll watch this up to a certain age, maybe 10, maybe 11, will find it just fine. It's not something they're going to want to watch 100 times, because the sad thing to note is when Space Jam came out, we still watched the Looney Tunes all the time. They were still on TV all the time. They're not now. The kids nowadays barely know who Bugs Bunny is, unfortunately. But, that's the way it is.
I mean, I'll say the same thing I said when I left the theater and in my review. I'm embarrassed by the fact that I liked Space Jam and New Legacy. But I did. And I did like it. And I liked it because, not because the story was great. The story's the same as the first one, except, it's more digital. And LeBron, it's more LeBron hero worship in this movie than anybody could ever imagine. If you're one of those people that hates LeBron homers, those people that push him like he's the greatest thing ever,
King James,
tell you lies that he's better than Michael Jordan, those lies. If you hate those people, you will hate LeBron warship in Space Jam: A New Legacy, New Legacy, because it's everywhere. The entire movie is about LeBron warship. So I mean, it's like, come on. Basically, the movie opens with a whole montage about LeBron and his growing up. The one thing I did like about it, though, is that they made a plot point about the fact that he has no loyalty. He has no loyalty. He just bounces around from team to team, whatever like suits him best at the moment. Whichever has the best team and chance of winning, he just bounces around. He has no loyalty. I like that they made a plot point out of that.
That's the only thing that kept it out of. That's the only thing that kept it out of Floyd Mayweather level narcissism. Was that plot point?
Pretty crazy. So basically, he's got a little beef with his son. His son, he's a hard ass. He's basically a hard ass again on his sons. He wants him to be a star player just like him. His youngest son wants to make video games. LeBron ain't cool with that really. They go to Warner Brothers for a meeting. They shoot down the idea. The algorithm, played by Don Cheadle, gets pissed. So he sucks them into the serververse, which is basically the entire content library from Warner Brothers. And when we say, like we said earlier, if it's the entire Warner Brothers catalog, it is literally the entire Warner Brothers catalog. I think they pulled out every single character they've ever used anywhere, ever. Harry Potter, Iron Giant, I saw Jabberjaw in there. The Jetsons were there. The Animaniacs were up there.
It was so deep that there was even the nuns from a movie called The Devil from the 70s that's been banned in Warner Brothers. They won't release it because it got such a backlash from the religious right.
The four characters they have, they're just kind of in there watching this game. The only way LeBron can get out and free his family and free everybody, basically, including the Looney Tunes, because they'll be destroyed if they lose the game, is to win a game against Don Cheadle's team, the Algorithms team, which is led by a bunch of mutated NBA stars and LeBron's son, who's still got beef.
Yeah.
Look, the vast majority of the movie is the game. I think there's about an hour spent on that game. And you know what? I had fun with it because of that. I liked it. I liked that it was silly and it was focused on the game part aspect of it. I love the Looney Tunes characters. I always have. Lola Bunny is my second favorite behind Daffy.
Were you one of those people pissed that she didn't have big breasts in this?
No, she was voiced by Zendaya, which is sexy and fun.
I'm still blown away that people legit got mad at that. Like, I get it, we all were like Lola Bunny, but
I'm still upset by people who were upset that Pepe Le Pew didn't get a scene in the movie. Who cares? Who cares?
I mean, he was kind of even I can admit he was kind of a rapist. I don't know why I said even I, like I defend that stuff a lot, but
Pepe Le Pew was always rapey. I mean, that's what the character was, and he still is. It's a little odd for them to cut out Pepe Le Pew and then put like
Speedy Gonzalez.
Well, no, Speedy Gonzalez isn't so bad, but like Game of Thrones in there, considering all the shit that went on in that show.
Speedy Gonzalez is pretty damn offensive, I would say, to the Latin community. I mean, he's basically a walking stereotype.
Yeah, I guess he could be, but you know what though? I didn't think he was depicted as.
No, he did come off a bit differently. He wasn't taking a nap behind a barn like he was in the cartoons.
Yeah, I think it's more important the way they depict him now. It's okay to use the character if you want to shove aside how he used to be depicted and use him in a different way now. That's fine. They could have done the same thing with Pepe Le Pew. They could have done the same thing. They could have used him and then not have him be rapey.
Yeah. But just be a French caricature.
Apparently, the scene that they had drawn up for him was pretty rapey.
Yeah.
So they just cut it.
I'm telling you, it's got to be weird. It's like we mentioned with Black Widow. I mean, the world has changed a ton as far as what's tolerated in the last 10 years. And if you go back to use a character that you haven't used in 10 years, like Pepe Le Pew, who probably had, I think the last time he had a big screen moment was Looney Tunes Back in Action with Brendan Fraser in 2003. I think, and if you go to use a character like that hasn't been used in so long, it's easy to remember them fondly and then look at it and say, oh, well, I didn't.
The same year as Karen Sisko.
Yeah, and we're back to Karen Sisko.
Anyway, I enjoyed this. I think it's a lot of fun. I can't take it too seriously. It's just an enjoyable, entertaining film to me.
And I do like seeing Sonequa Martin Green in more stuff. I think she's great.
Nothing to do with this movie.
No, but I'd like to see her in more stuff. I didn't say I like to see her perform.
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
like to see her in more stuff.
I hear you. But yeah, um, it's product placement to the max. If you find this sort of, like I said, the hero worship of LeBron James and this uh, commercialization of Warner Brothers by Warner Brothers, you may find that annoying. This is why I said I was embarrassed by it because I acknowledged all that stuff that was happening in it, and I was still having fun.
Hmm.
So your mileage is going to vary on this movie, is what I'm basically
Yeah,
saying.
but it's important to embrace the stuff that you're embarrassed by because at the end of the day, it's about having fun. So if you think, oh well, maybe I shouldn't have liked this. This is so stupid, but as long as you had fun with it, I guess that's all that matters. And if you have HBO Max, you don't have to pay for it.
I
So
can think of worse things to have on in the background than this movie. This would be like the ultimate background
there you
movie.
go.
Like I could turn on right now while I'm working and like glance over there every now and then and like, hey, there's one of the Herculoids over there,
Right.
and he's standing next to Grape Ape,
Yeah.
and cool, and then I'll get
Yeah.
back to work.
So no surprises there. We're running. We have about 9 minutes to cover two more movies. So
Hey, how about
let's check out something that kind of surprised me and reminded me about why Nicolas Cage became famous in the first place. Pig, which sees Nicolas Cage as a hermit who's escaped to the woods because of his mysterious past and a lost love, and he lives basically only with his truffle hunting pig. His only contact to the outside world is a guy that comes and buys his truffles, every once in a while, and then his pig is stolen. So he goes back into and I'm
Alex
not,
Wolf? Was this Alex Wolf or Nat Wolf? I get the Wolves mixed up.
it's Nat Wolf in this one, right?
Is Nat Wolf? Okay.
Well, now I'm questioning myself, but yeah. Out, nope, it's Alex Wolf.
Okay.
I should have known it. I went one way, it was going the wrong way. But and then he's forced to go back into the I shit you not seedy underworld of Portland cuisine, which he loses his pig, his truffle hunting pig. He has to go through an underground truffle hunting world where there's a five-star waiter fight club, among other things. It sounds so Nicolas Cage is not even funny, and it sounds like it would be a
On.
cheap
This is
knockoff of John Wick.
we all made fun of it when the movie was first announced.
Hmm.
Where'd my camera go? My video.
I don't know. I lost you.
There we go. I'm back.
Yep.
Oh, hey, my camera actually shut down. So now. Okay.
There we go. Now we got you in 4K.
I don't know why my camera did that. It's done that a few times actually. It did it right before my interview with Reed Miller for that movie, Joe Bell, the other day. It did it
Oh,
right before that, and I was like, what the fuck? But I got it fixed.
timing is everything.
But when the movie was first announced, we all made fun of it. It's like, oh, revenge movie where Nicolas Cage goes off and to avenge his pig. This sounds stupid. But the movie's not stupid. The movie is actually very heartfelt and powerful, and it's not really a revenge movie at all. It's about someone who has lost everything and how he copes with it and how he is aware enough about himself to know that he needs to pull away from society.
Hmm.
It's one of Nicolas Cage's most powerful performances. It reminded me of his role in the movie Joe from years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was very similar to that. Um, there were a couple of scenes in here, and I had my friend of mine, my friend Karen, out in LA. She was telling me about it before I saw it, and she was like, "There are a couple of scenes in here that broke me." And I was like, "Oh damn, okay." And I watched it, and I knew exactly which scene she was talking about, like the one in the restaurant where he's talking to that old former employee of his.
Yeah.
I'm not going to spoil the scene because I want people to go and watch the movie and not think this is one of the dumb Nicolas Cage movies or one of the bizarre Nicolas Cage movies because it's not. It's not really about the pig, okay? It's not really about the pig. The pig represents something, but the pig is not the thing.
Hmm.
The thing is about the guy that Nicolas Cage is playing. This guy who was once. You see in the entire movie, like everybody still worships this guy.
Yeah.
His name has value, and his name has value in a lot of very weird places, like in a lot of odd places. His name has value, but he just has this conversation with this guy. He's talking to him about doing the things that you love and holding on to them and following through, and it like hits home. At least it hit home with me. It's a really great moment, and it reminds me just how good Nicolas Cage is when he plays against type, because we all expect him to do the sort of Mandy thing,
Yeah.
or whatever. And when he really digs deep into a character like he does in this, he is one of the best actors, and he can elevate any material when he puts his mind to it. I think we forget about it sometimes with him, but every now and then he gives us something like this or that reminds you of that.
Well, I think that's why they call it flashes of genius. You know, like we make fun of a lot of his movie choices, but I think that's you don't get to movies like this without choices like that. I mean, it's almost throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. But when he sticks, he's not coming back down. You know, he gets on there and he finds something that's out there and weird that not only could nobody else do but him, but nobody else would even give the script a second thought.
Probably.
You know, they look at this and say, "No, this is ridiculous," and he's able, for whatever reason, whether by accident or by design, to see what he can do specifically in these things. Some of it ends up like Drive Angry, some of it ends up like Pig, and you know that's what makes him one of the greatest actors because no matter
Drive Angry is amazing, by the way.
yeah, well, but I mean it's like an actiony, you know, revenge type movie. I don't mean it's shitty. You know,
That's top shelf Amber Heard, so I mean that's
yeah, yeah. And we're not canceling her yet. Are we still
oh.
okay? But he's
I regularly fight with people online on Twitter about her, so people who want to get her fired from Aquaman. It's like I hope they give her more time on the movie just for
but yeah, I mean, I had forgotten that. I mean, it's easy to forget when you have a bunch of movies in a row like Willy's Wonderland and Mandy and things like that. You forget that this guy is capable of greatness. And
I forgot the name of the movie that he had at Sundance. What was it, Ghost in the Darkness or Prisoner in the Darkness or something? I don't know.
something along those lines. But you know, you're right in saying that the pig is more of a representation of something than the pig itself. But at the same time, he's able to make you understand that, you know, he pulled away from everything in life he had, and the only thing he had left is that life is this small little reminder, which is essentially the same thing with John Wick that people are comparing to because it wasn't about the dog, it was about his wife gave him the dog, right? But Keanu Reeves can't translate that the way that Nicolas Cage can, and you can really see that this is his last. He reached at the world he used to know. All those sands fell through his fingers, and this is the one piece he was able to keep. And that's what sends him on the journey. And it was a really powerful movie.
Really fantastic movie, and hope people go see it. You're blurry. I don't know why your screen is blurry, but
Hold on.
It's just you too.
No, this is just put this out there. We don't usually do advertisements, and we won't do one today. But Depstech, DEPSTECH. Do not believe the ads on Amazon that they are 4K, folks, because you're seeing this here, not 4K. This camera sucks. That's all I have to say.
Okay, so that sponsorship's out.
Yeah.
All right, so we got one more movie left. I don't know how much time we got left. Probably not much.
2 minutes.
Yeah, so sweet. Escape Room, Tournament of Champions.
Yep.
Sequel to 2019's Escape Room, which I actually quite liked.
Mm-hmm.
This one brings back Taylor Russell and Logan Miller's characters. In the first movie, was two people who escaped. And this movie is kind of like the Hunger Games. They brought back a whole bunch of people who won. And this time, you know, I still see potential in this franchise, but I was not big on this sequel.
No.
I felt like the traps were cool, but they lacked personality. They lacked the thing that I liked about escape rooms, which is figuring out the clues. The clues make sense. This one felt like more like they were trying to get to the kills.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is what this franchise should be. If it wants to separate itself from Saw or some of the other things out there, this was not the way to go. And I kind of feel like they need to ditch the whole "let's get revenge on Minos" thing. I kind of feel like that needs to go.
Yeah.
Like every time they brought it up, it dragged the movie down.
Yeah. Agree 100%. The Saw parallel was there when you first hear about Escape Room, the first movie, but there was the actual action of getting out was more the focus. So you got away from that parallel. This one brings you right back to that and really pushes it further. So you're at some kind of abomination between Saw and the original Escape Room. And plus the Escape Room thing's kind of died out. So I mean, culturally, it's not as relevant anymore. But
and again, I don't know.
It was fine.
Don't Breathe 2 is coming out. Remember they did a Escape Room for Don't Breathe.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, and I kind of hope they do another one.
Yeah, I like them. They're a lot of fun. I mean, I've never not had a good time in an escape room. But the thing is, this movie is fine. If you watch it, you're expecting a you're expecting this, like Travis mentioned, is a little bit more Saw than the original one, but I think people will still like it because at the end of the day, the thing that people get to like in these movies is the inventiveness of the kills, and that's still there.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
I agree.
and with that being said, we should tell you who we are and what we're about. The site is www.punchdrunkcritics.com. On Twitter, the site is @PDCmovies. Make sure to subscribe there. You'll get notices of all of our articles as they go up, so you know exactly what we've put up as soon as we put it up. Travis is @PunchyCritic, and I am @PunchDrunkJohn. On Twitch, Travis is @cinematic_forcer. And if you have any tips or questions, you want to try your hand at writing or anything else for us at all, info@punchdrunkcritics.com. Feel free to send us an email. We have about 10 seconds left, so with that, I'll say we're the Punch Drunk Critics. I'm John.
I'm Travis.
And we are out of here.